We're just a few days removed from the NFL draft, and so we thought football fans probably would like to think about their fantasy teams. So here's Field Yates to break down the rookies position by position. Let's start with the number one pick. Field, Joe Burrow, what do we expect?
Yeah, Greeny, Joe Burrow, so exciting for the Bengals and their franchise right now. From a fantasy perspective, while it's hard to find a spot for him comfortably inside my top 20 quarterbacks for 2020, I think he's right on the borderline. That's more a reflection, by the way, of the great depth that we have at quarterback for fantasy football purposes around the league. But great weapons there in Cincinnati. Excited to see Joe Burrow. But it's his teammate at LSU, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back who landed at the 32nd pick to the Kansas City Chiefs, that I'm the most excited about amongst all rookies. How about this? Over the past 16 years, Andy Reid has produced 10 top 10 running backs. That's probably a little bit rich for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he should be a monster part of what is, at least in the discussion, for the very best offense in football. Patrick Mahomes has never thrown an interception when targeting a running back. And how about one wide receiver that I'm excited about amongst the rookie class? It's CeeDee Lamb. I don't know how he slipped to pick 17 in the draft to the Dallas Cowboys, but you can make a case right now that they have the best wide receiver trio in football, and Lamb has an experienced quarterback throwing him the ball, so there aren't as many concerns about some of the other young wideouts who might be catching passes from less experienced quarterbacks than Dak Prescott. He's certainly a late-round flyer to consider, even in 10-team leagues.
Well, that's a really interesting point. We're actually going to go to Dallas live a little later in the show and talk more about the Dak situation, because with him not there, he's not participating in the virtual offseason program, however significant that is. But you mentioned the weapons. What does Dak look like right now as far as the quarterbacks?
I think there's a pretty comfortable conversation about Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes as the top two quarterbacks in fantasy. But it gets really interesting at number 3, and that's where I think Dak Prescott enters the mix. Dak last year threw for 4,900 yards. He's got an average of over 5 rushing touchdowns per season in his 4-year career. His weapons are as good as perhaps any quarterback has in the NFL, and the Cowboys figure to be much stronger on offense than defense this year, Greeny, which means if they have to play in shootouts, that's great news for fantasy football. So, yes, there are other quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson that could be in that mix for the third quarterback taken. But there is very much a world that exists that Dak Prescott is the third best quarterback in fantasy football this year, and that might be underselling it. He threw for nearly 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last season. This offense is going to score a ton of points, and they might have to in order to stay competitive in that division.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Field, and it's a pleasure to be talking about these things. Here's hoping that this is exactly what we'll be doing when we get to the fall. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.